Welcome to Shadowline News, where we illuminate the stories that matter most. Today, we delve deep into the ongoing human cost of political change through the eyes of one man whose life was forever altered on a single day of protest. Samuel Omondi's hands once crafted final resting places for others. The irony is bitter and profound. A coffin maker who nearly needed his own product after being shot 8 times during Kenya's June 25th protests. His story embodies the devastating personal toll of civic unrest that extends far beyond the headlines. The June 25th protests in Kenya became a watershed moment that exposed deep fractures between citizens demanding change and a state apparatus struggling to respond. Survivors of the June 25th protests are still grappling with trauma and untreated injuries, even as the government rolls out plans to compensate victims. While political leaders debate policies from comfortable offices, men like Omondi lie bedridden, their bodies bearing permanent testimony to the violence of that day. What makes Omondi's case particularly haunting is the medical reality he now faces. Doctors extracted 7 bullets from his spine, but 1 remains lodged, leaving Omondi bedridden. 7 bullets removed, but the 8th remains, a metallic reminder that some wounds never fully heal. This isn't just medical complexity, it's a metaphor for how political violence leaves permanent scars on both individuals and society. If you're finding this deep dive into real human stories compelling, hit that subscribe button now. At Shadowline News, we don't just report events, we follow the human threads that weave through history long after the cameras leave. You'll want to stay connected for our upcoming series on forgotten victims of political violence across Africa. The economic devastation in Omondi's life reveals systemic failures beyond the initial violence. Formerly a casual coffin-making worker, he now endures constant pain and can no longer earn a penny. From creating symbols of finality to facing his own mortality, the transformation is complete and cruel. His aunt, Rosemary, now carries the burden that was never meant to be hers, struggling with medical bills and the crushing weight of watching a young man's potential drain away. The healthcare system's response reveals another layer of institutional failure. I once returned to the hospital hoping for a free checkup, but the doctor told me nothing is free in Kenya, Omondi recounted. This statement cuts to the heart of how societies abandon those injured in their name. When the state fails to protect and then fails to heal, it breaks the fundamental social contract. Omondi's description of his ongoing pain provides a window into trauma that statistics cannot capture. When it's cold, I feel the chill deep in my bones, even with a sweater on, he explained. Weather becomes an enemy, comfort becomes impossible, and the body becomes a prison. This isn't just physical suffering, it's the complete disruption of what it means to exist comfortably in one's own skin. The broader pattern emerges when we consider other victims from the same protests. Mark Clinton Daya, a former hotel chef, represents another dimension of this tragedy. Shot in the thigh and has spent 3 months bedridden with a festering wound. 2 different men, 2 different professions, united by bullets and abandonment. Daya's ongoing medical crisis, a wound that continues discharging fluids, illustrates how gun violence creates cascading health emergencies that the healthcare system struggles to address. The financial barriers to recovery reveal class warfare within medical care. Discharged without follow-up care, he said he could not afford the KSH 1,100 demanded for treatment. When survival depends on money you don't have, the violence extends far beyond the initial shooting. The bullet may have stopped, but the harm continues daily through a system that prices healing beyond reach. Government compensation promises provide a complex backdrop to these personal tragedies. President William Ruto's announced compensation scheme represents acknowledgement of wrongdoing, but timing matters in human suffering. While bureaucrats design frameworks and politicians make announcements, real people endure real pain in real time. The gap between policy promises and individual relief often spans months or years that victims cannot afford to lose. Next week, we'll be investigating the compensation process itself, how it works, who gets paid, and who gets left behind. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that crucial follow-up story. The constitutional irony cannot be ignored. The move came amid long-standing anger over violent crackdowns on constitutionally protected protests under Article 37. many of which have ended in deadly clashes between police and civilians. Citizens exercising constitutional rights to protest became targets of state violence, creating a fundamental contradiction that undermines democratic legitimacy. When constitutional protections fail at the moment they're most needed, the entire legal framework becomes questionable. Samuel Omondi's story transcends individual tragedy to become a mirror reflecting broader societal failures. His bedridden state represents thousands of others whose names we'll never know, whose struggles remain invisible, whose pain continues unwitnessed. The coffin maker who cannot work, the chef who cannot stand, the families who cannot afford healing. These are the human costs of political systems that respond to dissent with bullets rather than dialogue. The eighth bullet, still lodged in Omondi's spine, serves as a permanent monument to a moment when society failed its most basic obligation, protecting those who dare to speak. Every day he wakes in pain, that bullet reminds him that his government shot him 8 times for demanding better governance. The physical healing may be incomplete, but the political message is crystal clear. This is Shadowline News, committed to illuminating the stories that power ignores and time threatens to forget. Samuel Omondi's journey continues, and so does our commitment to following it until justice arrives or hope runs out. Thank you for joining us in bearing witness to the real human cost of political change.